Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's 10:03 a.m. I know folks are still trickling in, so I'm still letting department heads into the meeting room. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's 10:03 a.m. Sorry, I heard myself twice. It is being audio and video recorded, and it will be on YouTube if anyone chooses to watch it. And with that, I ask that everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the only thing on the agenda are the department head reports. So first I wanted to see if Selectman Pacheco, Selectman Goulart, or Madam Administrator, if you had anything you'd like to report on, and then I wanted to open it up to everyone. I'm going to mute myself.
I have nothing.
Thank you, Selectman Pacheco. Selectman Goulart, I think you had your hand up. Did you want to unmute yourself? No, it's okay.
We lip read now.
Oh, I put my hand up and said I don't have anything.
Shock. Okay. I do have something. I'm sorry.
Sure. You have the floor.
I always have something. So this is really just informational for the department. We have our first copy. We're ordering the rest. This is our proof. This is our policy manual. All of the departments will get this. There is I know you guys hate collecting these, but there is a signature page at the back that we need the employees, once they receive this, to sign off on that they've received it and date it. And it will be version 1 of this policy manual going in their personnel folder. This is a collection of all of the policies that the board has rolled out over the last 3 years, all in one place. Makes it easy, and we had them bound because to me that's the most helpful, and then you can write your own notes in it or whatever people might need. But this is also a nice tool for you to have in your departments if somebody comes to you with any sort of question or worse, some sort of egregious behavior that might be in violation of the policy. So you'll have this as a tool for you. They're at the printer. We reviewed the proof and gave it the go-ahead. So that is coming, and I just want you all to be aware of that. I know that the board, does anybody have any questions on that before I move on?
I do, but it's more of a question for like new hires going forward.
Sure, yep.
Or for like new hires who start after the policy manual. You know, we have it in hand. A lot of the policies that we devised, because we did them policy by policy, they have their own individual acknowledgement form. Is the intention that the policy manual acknowledgement form will now replace the individual policy acknowledgement forms for like—
That is, right, that is not my intention, and I know it probably sounds redundant, but these policies, specifically the ones that have their separate sign-off form, it means they're a bigger deal than the other ones, and that you're more bound to those just by nature of you being an employee of the town. So I do like to call special attention out to that for everybody. So yes, it is redundant, but for me, it's suspenders and belts. You're kind of double duty covering yourself, and that's a good thing. That's a good practice. I also, for new hires, I do want to address that this is also available electronically, which a lot of people prefer. So we do have that. For new hires, they'll get a set of bound copies in Mary's office, and she'll give them out as they're available. But once they're out, I imagine that it would just be distributed electronically or through email or something along those lines. And then as part of your new hire paperwork, when you return everything about benefits and other things, these signature forms would just be part of that process. So that answered your question. Okay. The other thing I wanted to do, I know we normally don't direct departments of how they provide their reports, and it's mostly voluntary if people want to share, but I was hoping that each department could provide a positive that's going on in their department as well as something that they might need a little support in. With COVID-19, I'm seeing the same people over and over again, and that, usually I see everybody, but I just want to make sure, I don't see Alice as much as I'd like to. I don't see the Board of Health as much as I'd like to. I just want to make sure that I'm aware and the selectmen are aware of the different challenges that might be facing these departments, and then working together to kind of get those obstacles out of the way, and we can kind of go forward as COVID hopefully winds down and we sort of get back to our regularly scheduled program more and more. So if that's okay with the board, I'm hoping to hear from everybody about maybe whatever their struggles may be. And good news if they don't have any, but I want to just really ask the question and make sure.
I have no issue with that. Were you looking for our thoughts on that? I know you're probably not looking for a vote, but I'm fine with that, Madam Administrator.
Just an okay, that's good with me. It is your meeting, so I don't want to.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Selectman Goulart, Selectman Pacheco? I did just want to say to Mrs. Easterday and to Mr. Gray, now that you're both on, I did send you an invite for the Town of Dayton YouTube account so that you are a quote unquote owner who can, has like administrative rights. However, in talking to the town administrator, she had some trouble setting it up from her Town of Dayton email. I think I need to send it to someone's Gmail address. I do have Mr. Gray's, so I'm happy to send it to him. Mrs. Easterday, my one question for you is, do you also need a link as well, like your own administrative rights to the account?
You mean a
For the
Gmail
YouTube
account?
Yeah.
I do have a Gmail account, so I can give you that.
Awesome. So I will resend that after this meeting. So
Okay.
that, because I wasn't aware that it has to be a Gmail address.
Okay.
Of course, I sent it to everyone's professional email address,
Yeah.
but Mallory, excuse me, the town administrator said that it was not possible to register. So
I did have a
Filing.
question on that. So the one question I have, for that, to do that on live, did you create another Town of Dayton account so that we can do two or broadcast
No.
dually, or is that separate?
No, so you would, one of you, if you have meetings at the same time that need to broadcast live, one
Right.
of you is going to have to use Facebook and the other is going to have to use YouTube. Obviously, YouTube should be used for the hearing that has the most public interest, because there's just a small fraction of people on Facebook and you want to be cognizant of that. Obviously, they will all be recorded and re-aired on Channel 9. But if you do run into a conflict like that, a scheduling conflict, whichever meeting has the broader public interest gets the YouTube.
Right. So ZBA and planning doesn't have any scheduling conflicts. We don't have any meetings that, what's conflicting is planning and selectmen.
Mhm.
So that's where our conflict is coming in. So for example, tonight, I'm assuming you guys will be broadcasting live, correct?
So we don't,
No, not
No.
on. Yeah, not. I'm sorry, Madam Administrator. I knew what you were gonna say. You can go. No, it's okay. We were doing the Zoom. Who's on first?
So the reason we had the problem last time is that we use Zoom to provide the ability for people to come to our meetings. We don't need the requirement, because all three selectmen and an established quorum are in person physically meeting. We don't have to provide real-time access through live streaming capability.
Okay.
We record it through cable, it's aired. We will allow public to attend. Tonight we have we expect a large group of people to come for our public hearing. We've offered a Zoom meeting for people to come in and share their thoughts. And you'll notice that this Zoom meeting has some different options for you as an attendee about raising your hand. Yes, do you agree? And if you have a question and all of that, we've updated our Zoom meetings to reflect a better interface with the public who may have questions or want to know a little bit more about our project. But we won't be streaming live. So there's a set of conflicts. There's one set of conflicts of using the same Zoom account. We've fixed that. That's all set. And then the other conflict is streaming live, but you'd only run into that conflict if there were a certain set of circumstances. And generally the selectmen do not need to stream live because they're all meeting in person, and we allow members to come in, members of the public to come in based upon occupancy. We're following the rules. We're following our Board of Health orders and all of that. But we don't have the same need as a large public hearing like Strawberry Fields or solar development or something like that.
And
So I guess going forward, should I just double check with Karen on the nights that I have meetings to make sure that you guys aren't anticipating on having a live meeting?
Yes,
Right.
but we only ran into this snafu for the last few months of the year
Yeah,
because of holidays messing
Yeah.
with
right.
people. So this should not be a permanent issue.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually meet on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month, but because I actually had a vacation plan many months ago and then I had to cancel it, so that's why we ended up doing the 1st and the 4th, I think, this month.
Okay.
So that's why we have a conflict tonight, but normally we shouldn't. But yeah, you can definitely check with Mrs. Brady. It shouldn't be an issue though, too
Right.
much going forward.
Okay.
But yes, I will resend those links out to you, and thank you for being patient on that. We'll get that going for you, so you'll have administrative rights.
Sure. So I'll just respond to your email with my Gmail account, and then we
Mhm.
can go from there.
Awesome. Thank you
Okay.
so much. And
Yep.
Mr. Gray, I have yours, so I'll send that to you after the meeting. Good work.
Sounds good.
And
Oh.
now if Madam Administrator, if you don't have anything else, I just wanted to open up the floor to our department heads and to our administrative personnel as well, if they wanted to, who I consider department heads. If you want to unmute yourselves and you have the floor. Any updates, anything you find you think that other departments may find to be useful, relevant, anything you'd like us to be on the same page about, feel free to unmute yourselves and you have the floor.
Carrie, since you're already unmuted, go.
Okay. I don't really have much. I really don't have much going on. We do have a public hearing coming up for a warrant article for the acceptance of Jennifer Lane, which is Naughty Pine Estates, right after Country Hill Drive. That's really it. And Brett, I'm terribly sorry we were not able to get the soil bylaw on. I tried to get in touch with Lisa Mead. I chased her and chased her. Hadn't gotten any
No,
word
it's
from
okay.
her.
We're not miracle workers, Mrs. East today.
So, I did try. I did
Right?
try.
No worries.
So-
I don't suspect we should have too many. We shouldn't have a reason to even convene that board because basically the main individual who required hearings and such is pretty much operating his business in Berkeley. So I really don't anticipate us needing to have a meeting even before the annual town meeting.
Okay.
June of 2021. So no worries. We appreciate the good faith effort. We know how these things work.
So I will continue to chase her down for that. So at least we can get the ball rolling for annual. So I do have it at least, planned for the annual on that.
Perfect.
Other than that, we really don't have much that I'm aware of. Mallory, I am comprised. You sent me an email on the solar stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm getting that. There isn't too much on
Good.
that.
Thank you.
Would it be helpful to get the decisions? Do you want the decisions itself?
Only if they resulted in a major change to what we have. I don't think I need that. They're just looking. So just to fill everybody else in, and you may be hearing from me, some of you already have. We are currently amassing all of the data we need for the Green Communities annual report. And this is a total group effort. There's a lot of data. So thank you to Jim Aguiar, if he's on this call. Thank you to Jim Aguiar for compiling for Criterion 5. Thank you in advance to Karen and Leanne, who are gonna have to be going through lots of records for me, and Chief McGee already as well. So we're working together to put together these this substantial information, and then we send it over to Eric Arbini, who really sorts through it and files our report in the Green Communities format. So that's a struggle from me. That's one that I'm working on. That's going to be a struggle just because it takes so much time. We're also planning for a town meeting, so there's a lot going on administratively right now. So thank you for your help. Thank you to everybody for your help in advance for those I haven't reached out to yet. But just know that it's coming and we'll just get through that. But I appreciate that. Carry on the quick work. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Administrator, can I ask a question about that?
Yep.
So I know we have to do the annual report, and we do have Eric from Serpid who helps us. Like but we do have to gather all the data and then send it to him. So I do understand it's a bit daunting. Is this because there's been a lot of movement on the last 3 projects? So the one project, the electric charging stations, was sort of already checked off. But then there were the 3 remaining projects, one of which was building weatherization, and the schools needed to be in the loop on that because they're also going to get weatherized as well. Is this a lot of paperwork and a lot of gathering of information because those things are being done concomitantly?
No.
Or is it just because you have to report on them anyway?
You have to report on your energy efficiencies every year. No matter what. So we actually this is our first one because our designation came so late in 2018. So we are actually amassing 2 years of data. Obviously that's harder. We have to work with the schools as well. We don't have our fingertips on all of that. We don't have our fingertips on all of those documents. So we have to wait for them. They've actually provided them. They were the first group I went to because I knew it would take a little while. And we just have to put this together anyway, regardless of our Green Communities designation project. It just so happens for us that all of our projects are also happening at the same time. So no worries, it's getting done. So far, they've been great. And I'm happy to have some resolution on this one. This one takes a lot of time.
And we're gathering the information on the remaining 3 because I think Mrs. Brady had already sent me the information regarding the electric charging station. She had synced up with the building commissioner on that one. So this is just for the other uncompleted 3 projects, right?
No, so you and I are talking about 2 separate things. We have that to do for the the designation projects, but we also have our energy efficiencies to report that lowers our baseline.
Okay, I understand.
We have to kind of check in. Have you changed your solar power? Are you receiving any energy from a regeneration source like wind or solar? Which we're not. We're trying to. So I put that in there so it kind of shows where we're working towards it. Our vehicle inventory. We have to talk about all the changes. We have had immense changes in the last 2 years with our auctions. Thank you to Jim and Tom and Karen because they're going off very well. So we just have a lot of reporting, and we just have happened to be very active over the last 2 years in these 2 areas.
Yeah, that list probably changed a lot since.
Sure did.
Because it was drafted when Mrs. Louise was still our town accountant. And then, as you know, we get a new cruiser every year, and then some of those become surplus. And then the list was very big recently. So does the town accountant update the vehicle inventory list? I assume that the master list is with them.
I'm not sure because, we have the asset things, but with COVID-19, he's pretty up to his eyeballs. So I took on this one. And also I have each department sort of tracks their own vehicles. So I just access it from each of those departments and then put it together. And
then check it against our list and make the check. Okay, I understand. So you're an auditor.
It's also, I use it for the insurance. So it's not hard for me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One of the things the Stormwater Committee has to do is to insert into its illicit discharge detection plan a list of all town-owned vehicles and equipment, which means not only vehicles you register, but equipment that, for example, a mower, if you tow it behind a tractor. And the reason we have to do that is because we also have to indicate in the plan how we maintain our vehicles. So Chris Laviolette is working on that. So whatever list you come up with, and it should reconcile with what Chris' latest list is, because that's what we got to put in the book. So I don't want multiple lists around, so that if we get audited, the auditors will have a field day and say, how come you got 3 lists? It's supposed to be your equipment. So as of a given date, when you have your list complete, that should match whatever Chris has, so that I'll wait for that and then insert it in the book, okay?
Thank you. I think you had mentioned this at a recent selectmen's meeting.
Yeah,
And because I remember this. Okay, that's perfect. We can definitely, it's almost like another audit, so that's fine.
right.
And
So
make
as
sure
long
that
as we're all on the same page, at a given point in time, that's fine.
Thank you, Selectman Goulart.
Okay, who's next for their one positive and their one potential struggle?
And be honest.
Right, but we're here to help. That's what it is. Tom Ferry, calling on you.
What did I do?
Well, hopefully we're gonna hear one good thing you did and one bad thing.
I have a good thing for you. All your sidewalks are done so far. Until we get this ADA grant, and then you're back at it.
Oh, one good, Mr. Ferry, I did just want to I know I had reached out to you privately and I did post something on Facebook, but I did just want to reach out. I was going around town on the other day when we had that windstorm the day after, and the roads were a mess, and it was crazy how quickly everyone got them cleared. And I saw them working around the clock in different parts of town, and I just wanted to thank everyone for that before we got started.
Yep, that was pretty unique. Yeah, and that chipper is down too. So we pulled it off with magical powers. The chipper's still down.
So you're the miracle worker. Okay.
So I have a very short list here, then I can take care of Mallory's request. So tomorrow there's a Mass DOT meeting. I believe Mallory was carbon. I didn't see Bobby's on here. I think Bobby should be at that meeting.
Hold on.
I believe Chief McGee was
The
up.
floodplain one? Wait, what meeting are you talking about?
Mass DOT paving Route 44.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Okay, so
What time is it, Tom?
both chiefs are very important to be at that meeting, and in yourself, only because of the details and also the detours.
Tom, what time is it at?
10.
Oh, I can do that. Okay.
And where?
Yeah, so if you guys could check with me. If you don't have the invite, I'll share it with you.
I think
get it.
someone muted themselves and asked where.
I believe it's just a conference call type thing. It's not a Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it involves your detail officers and also involves 911 response. So
Thanks for letting me know, Tom.
Yes,
Tom,
please.
when's it gonna start?
that's
Nice.
what tomorrow's about.
Oh, okay. All
Yep.
right. Are they gonna close the road alternately like they did when they worked in Rehoboth?
I believe your 2 chiefs will help decide that.
Okay.
Obviously, when they grind and whatnot.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll probably be similar to Rehoboth, except for Lynch is the paving company, not PJ Keaton, so they may
Okay.
have different needs.
Tom, the only thing I would ask at that, when you sit in on that meeting, at our MVP meeting, the one area of concern for erosion was Route 44 as you go up the hill towards Chestnut Street.
Correct.
So hopefully they're going to tell you what they're going to do to stop all that stuff from coming out into the road. But just, if they don't bring it up, if you mention it, because that was a major concern. And that lady was here from DOT at our MVP meeting.
Right, yes.
Thank you.
Also, it involved Nancy last time. I don't know if it's still well. Green Seal reached out to me because they have a new person took over. The person that did the limited assessment for the old landfill left and didn't leave much details, and it's kind of in limbo. We're still waiting for a response from DEP on their assessment. So the new person that's wondering what's going on from Green Seal would just like to do a site visit just to see it in person. That's going to be this Friday. I don't have a time yet. I don't believe anyone else has to be there, but if someone from the board feels they need to be there, I'll let them know when I know the time.
Tom, I'd like to be there because I have been involved over the years. It's haunted us.
Right. So because of COVID, I think that's why we haven't heard nothing from DP this year, but I think we're looking at 3-4 years already.
Oh, it was talked about when I was here between 7 and 10, excuse me. It came up again when I came back, because remember, you and Heidi and I went to a meeting, so that was probably 2015. So it's been out there.
Okay, thank you. That grant that we deal with every year from the Uber reimbursement, and we have to file a report. Mallory's laughing because she dumped that on me.
$100. What did we get?
$260 this year. What I'm gonna do is,
Oh, good.
they use some language like complete streets and shared roads and how it'd be useful to be something similar. So that's what I'm gonna do, is just put it towards one of the complete street projects, buying them signs that everyone loves about the bicycles. You'd have to add a couple anyways down in the South Dayton. So it's a perfect match, and I used the language about complete streets, so it should work well.
Great.
And as far as the bad news and good news, as you know, we're probably gonna have an employee retire this fall. Last physical work day will be in the middle of next month. I'd like some ideas about a nice send-off. I think that'd be a good idea. So if people can talk to me offline about that, what they think. And so that'd be the sad and good. So if we could have had a different circumstance, so let's make sure it's a positive thing.
How long has he been with the town?
Counting the fireside, it must be, well, it's gotta be over 30 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow, wow. Absolutely, Mr. Ferry, we can do that.
Totally.
And yeah, obviously it's gonna be tough to do with COVID, but there's gotta be a way we all can work together and do something.
Well, if we can do it outside, that increases the amount of people that can attend at once. So we can figure something out.
Right, so,
Or even in the pavilion and have people come in one side and go out the other. In other words, have a moving line, and maybe have a cup of coffee or something and just wish him the best, and at least, whatever.
yeah, let's think about it, but not too long, because, it's basically a month away, so,
Right.
okay. That'll do.
Thank you.
Okay, who else has something good and a struggle? Jonathan Gray.
Sure. So I'll just say it's all sort of one big thing. It's all a struggle. So I'll just give an update. So Strawberry Fields is closing. It's wrapping up relatively quickly, I would say. I would expect the decision to be signed within, I feel like I've said this before, but maybe within 2 months or less. So the next meeting is, I think, November 1st. I'll have to check on that. But so that is just something to be mindful of. As we mentioned earlier, Planning and Zoning has purchased its own Zoom account, so that should help. I've had a couple of meetings that have had a bit of a glitch where we had to reschedule, but I think we should be in good shape now. And then just sort of an update on 2 other 40B projects. Arbor Crest, which was the town's first 40B, back, I believe, approved in 2002 or so. That one, it's located between Tremont Street and School Streets. And that one has been wrapped up in litigation for many years now. And so the ZBA just, they finally have exhausted appeals for that, I believe. So the ZBA has extended that an additional 3 years for that applicant to go through the process of getting the necessary approvals to move forward. And then for another 40B, Dighton Woods, that one is currently all built out as far as housing. They want to finish off the roadway there. They would like to have the road Dighton Woods Circle approved at the annual town meeting. So I believe Dighton Woods will be coming at our meeting next Wednesday, next Wednesday, to ask for some items related to the roadway there. So that's just the update from ZBA.
Mr. Gray, is there a little more to that story with the Dighton Woods Circle though? Because some residents had reached out to me about that, and I don't think that they're convinced that that's going to get done,
Yeah.
that the developer is going to complete it. Also, I've been over there recently, and it's not like a good roadway.
Yeah. So the base. So Tom Ferry was at the inspection this week to actually check out the roadway, the base layer. It's been down for a dozen years now, which is not ideal. But the board's peer review engineer said that it's that it's in good enough shape to repave. There are some areas that need to be redone, but those areas specifically, I believe, are just within the areas where stormwater basins or manhole covers or something like that would be put in. So some of those I think might need to be replaced or something like that. But Mr. Ferry, you could probably speak to that as well.
Right, so it's a very good, solid base that's here now. Most of the imperfections that you see driving through structures, catch basin structures that are buried and you don't see the tops, and that's why there's some flex there in the asphalt. They do that way there, when the finished paving is done, they can get the right height so the basins are not too high or too low. And there's one transition between the first phase and the second phase that needs to be done, so there will be some grinding to correct that. But as far as the type of base, it's very rare to see something like that built now. I really wouldn't want to see that removed. So they got a really good foundation there, and it shows that there's a good foundation underneath the asphalt presently. So with the top coat after the structures are finally raised to their new elevation, it should be a good surface.
Nice.
Tom, I have a question for you on that.
Yep.
Dighton Woods Circle, is it possible to make that one parking one side of the street and put no parking signs on the other?
I believe it should have been built, and the town should consider no parking because of the width.
Because they're parking on the street on both sides of the road, and we've gone in there in many circumstances and barely been able to fit a piece of fire apparatus through there. So I have grave concern. There's no posted signs there. So I don't believe PD can enforce it, but maybe I'm wrong. They're all facing the right direction and everything. It's just that when they're parked on the street on both sides, it's a tight squeeze getting through.
Right, so I don't believe that was originally designed to be a town road. So this is the time to start voicing our opinions, and also in the town meeting. You could consider a one-way and park on one side, or no parking at all on the street.
I thought it was a one-way. It's not?
No, it is not.
Oh.
No.
I always go to the left when I go in there. I think it might just be a habit.
Right.
Which one is Dighton Woods?
Off of Buck Plain Road, Selectman Goulart?
Oh, all right.
Do you
What's
know?
the one off of Pine Street? Is that the Pines?
There's
Yes.
two. There's,
Okay.
yeah.
And
Isn't
Stony
there
Ridge.
Sylvia's? Yes, thank you. There's and then
Oh,
there's
okay.
also Sylvia Way.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Yes, you have.
Hello,
the floor,
everyone.
sir.
Hi,
Hello,
Jim.
everyone. This is Jim. Hi. I do have some input here. That subdivision was, Tom's right, there was no parking allowed on the street because of the roadway width. In fact, there are parking areas for visitors that they are supposed to use when they visit homeowners in the property subdivision. So right now, the developer would be responsible for enforcing it because it's not a public way. Certainly, I've done everything I can to make sure that emergency vehicles get through, but until it's accepted by the town, it becomes a public road, we're going to have a difficult time enforcing it. So I think Tom and the others, the chief is correct. Once this comes in for the townspeople, we can discuss it, and then we can determine whether or not, certainly no parking, I think, is a given, but we can discuss the options of one way, if that's a benefactor or not. So I think we can deal with this when it becomes ours, much better than right now while it's in the interim.
Or can I ask a question about this, Jim?
Sure.
Is it possible is the developer still around? Because is it possible for the town before voting to accept that some of this stuff is figured out so we don't have to go through our hoops to get it done? Meaning,
Yeah,
can
so-
he put up the signs? Can he make it a one-way?
So I'd have to check the decision. To
Okay.
answer your question directly, I'd have to check the decision to see what the responsibilities of the developer are. But I'd certainly be willing to work with the zoning board and look at the comprehensive permit to determine that. Certainly, if he's responsible, then yes, we'll look for that before we would even bring it to the town floor for discussion and a vote. But yeah, I don't have the answer as to whether the signs can be put up, but certainly we'll do that if he's liable.
Thank you. And Tom?
So I understand they're looking for a large sum of money released on a bond issue. That could be applied to engineering instead of us shooting off the hip on correcting the traffic issue. That might be a way to go.
We like shooting from the hip. This is Diane. I agree, Mr. Ferry. And this was part of the reason, I don't know if everyone is aware, we had several back in 2016, 2017. Selectman Goulart, you were on the board. We had several joint subdivision meetings, which I felt were very productive. So I did request us to resume them. I know it's a little hard, obviously, during a pandemic. They probably have to be done via Zoom. But our building commissioner did propose having them twice a year. And I think that would be fine. That's fine with me if it's fine with everybody else, just to get everybody on the same page and discuss the different issues that may or may not be occurring in the different unaccepted subdivisions we have in town.
I think it's a good idea, Brett.
Thank you, Selectman G. And with that, again, if you have any updates, please feel free to unmute yourselves. Mr. Ferry, if you have any further updates, you can continue and I will yield the floor to you.
I'm all set. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Mrs. Tavares, Mrs. Souza, you can feel free to unmute yourselves. Okay, hearing nothing from department heads, I do want to open it up if we have members of the public or members of boards, committees, commissions who may not be the chair or the office manager who may just want to have comments. You can feel free to unmute yourselves and you have the floor.
Mr. Sopagos, this is Chris. Just a couple of quick notes, if I may, as a department head.
Absolutely.
On a positive note, I've submitted the balance sheet for free cash certification actually just more than 2 weeks ago. So it's in progress. Our rep is underwater right now trying to certify free cash for approximately 18 communities simultaneously, as well as setting tax rates in a few communities. So we're in the hopper. Hopefully, we'll have free cash certified sooner rather than later, certainly in time for town meeting in November. One thing I want to bring to everybody's attention, if you're submitting reimbursement for expenses, for things that you've had to buy on a sort of on an ad hoc, a periodic basis, I want to stress that it's important that you submit your reimbursement request utilizing the standard form. We've noticed that in some instances recently that there are expense reimbursements coming through without the utilization of that form, and it's a good form. I know it's an extra step, but would appreciate everyone's cooperation in the matter. And that's all I have to say.
Question, Chris?
Sure.
What's the number that your best guess that you're hoping is certified on your form?
So I have a range of numbers right now, and it'll depend on how a couple of deficits are accounted for on the DOR side. But I had a range anywhere between $1.4 million and $1.8 million right now.
Okay.
I'm guessing my safe guess is that it's going to be in excess of $1.4 million right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Laviolette, I did just want to bring your attention to the chat. Mrs. Aaronstein said Chris, please email everyone that form so they have it in their inbox, i.e.
Actually, I'll email it, but just know that that form should also be available on the town accountant's webpage under the forms link. But yes, I will certainly share it with everybody.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Chris, can I bring up another point that you had raised about something we discussed earlier?
Sure.
You had said in the chat that there may be some discrepancies between the town's fixed asset records and the equipment inventory. This is going back to the discussion we were having about vehicles, for example, and other equipment that we track. There may be some equipment that isn't accounted for as a fixed asset because we're not claiming any depreciation expense on it. Generally, the fixed assets are going to be at least $10,000 in cost and have a useful life beyond 1 year. And I wanted to give you the floor if you wanted to expand on that.
Sure. So typically, so when we produce the audited financial report, we have a fixed asset policy. I'm fairly confident that the fixed asset policy says that we won't account for anything as a fixed asset in the financial statements that has a value of less or a cost of less than $10,000, and anything that won't last beyond a year. So everything else under that effectively is consumable. Think of it like ink toner for your printers or photocopy paper. However, that said, there is a possibility that a lot of equipment was captured within the original fixed asset records just because, not knowing whether or not we would have to track or inventory these types of things. And I'm talking like hand, power tools. So your push lawnmowers, your chainsaws, your weed whackers, anything, if I may, Selectman Goulart, I'm going to guess that anything that's gasoline, anything that's fossil fuel powered is going to have to be inventoried for your stormwater. Anything that has oil and gasoline in it.
Anything that could potentially leak and cause an illegal discharge. Yeah.
So that means, all right. So that means we have to account for all the cows too, right?
No.
Just kidding. Little accountant humor. Sorry, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Does anyone have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Absolutely, you may.
So, first, I'd like to thank all the employees of the town of Dayton on behalf of my family of the recent passing of our mother. Thank you for your well wishes. It went a long way. My brothers and I, we are going to be sending out some thank you cards. I just wanted to let everybody know verbally that thank you very much, and it went a long way. It meant a lot. Thank you. On the Pocket Rec side, I have a meeting scheduled for this Thursday evening. I have been working in conjunction also with our town administrator, Mrs. Ehrenstein, on the grant side of the equipment for the possible North Dayton handicap accessible playground. Now, with that being said, we are going to have to go to town meeting via warrant article for monies to secure that equipment so we can secure that grant. We're going to vote on that tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Thursday night. And also we're going to write the warrant article and have that prepared for that meeting to forward. We have a placeholder, I believe, in place to get that done. So with that being said, I'm going to jump to CPC. Mrs. Ehrenstein?
Sorry, before you jump to CPC, I just want to be clear because we got a lot of grant language going on. And I want to make sure the selectmen and the public who will hear this at town meeting know the grant that you are referencing, please correct me if I'm wrong, is a private grant from a developer of playground equipment, and it expires in October. So if we go forward with our town meeting request and get some money established towards this project, we will be able to get the matching grant through this private entity. It is not the ADA grant that people will hear about because we did also apply for some ADA funds for another initiative. And it is a grant, and that's a public grant through the state government. But this, I wanted people to know that it is a private entity that we're working with and trying to get a matching grant for the equipment. And the hope for this playground is that it will be fully accessible. So we've been working with the ADA Commission, showing them our thoughts and sort of trying to get our best foot forward with this project so that it's successful for everybody. Mr. Rhines, I'm sorry for taking some of your time.
No, that's fine, Mrs. Aaronstein. Thank you for that clarification, so everyone knows, in regards to that. We've been working very diligently on this, for the last couple, 3 years since Mrs. Aaronstein's been here, and hopefully before I do leave Park and Rec and not run for reelection in April, I'm gonna see some monies, appropriated at town meeting so we can get this project, going. I just want to let everyone know that's out there that, MRC Corporation, who has done the engineering and all the plans, is also on the state bid list. So that is going to help to defray some of the costs involved with this grant. And also, with the equipment purchases going forward. So, with that being said, I'm sorry I missed the department head meeting. We've had so much going on with our family recently, as everyone knows. I'm sorry, Mrs. Easterday spoke on behalf of the planning board. We do have, a light meeting this evening. And, our following meeting this month will, the schedule is going to pick up again. I'd like to jump to CPC if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
CPC wise is that, we're also, going to, Parks and Rec is going to, reconfigure the monies figures, to ask for capital from the CPC. And we're looking at, it would have to be the surface for the facility, which is a rubberized surface, which is mandatory. And also it's required to put a base of stone underneath that surface. So, I don't want to throw any generalized numbers out there now. That will be done in the future, of course. Everyone will be alerted to that fact. And, we have nothing else pressing, and CPC wise. Again, our application process does end. It's coming up. The end is November 30th. So we want to put that out there that if you think you have a viable project, you have 60 days to bring in your application. Of course, 10 copies, could be emailed to me, or I'm sorry, to our chair, and Mr. Tom Balkwood or myself. And then, we can start the process of getting someone on that agenda for the following month. So, again, before I leave again, I just want to thank everyone in town, for their, condolences and well wishes to our family. So thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And of course, Mr. Rhines. Does anybody else? Oh, I do have one question. Are we submitting something for the library to CPC?
It's my understanding that CPC already heard that application and that they are putting it on, or the intent is to put it on at the annual town meeting, but the Board of
Okay,
Selectmen
okay.
have an
So we-
article for the building project itself on this town meeting, nothing to do with CPC.
Yep, no worries. So we don't have to submit, something was already submitted. Okay, they'll consider it later. Mr. Ferry, I did see your hand, sir. You have the floor.
Yes, yeah, I can see Bob rolling his eyes right now.
Not literally. We know he is, though.
So the question is, where are we with the capital outlay committee? We're approaching the annual warrant time, this budget time discussions, and we're worried about 2022 being our worst year. So I would think that committee becomes very important now.
Always important. So that committee, the bylaws passed, and it's time to get them assembled. My vision was that when people were putting together their budgets and reviewing their budget message in December, that additional communication would go out that if they had any capital projects, they would be submitting them to the capital budget, the capital outlay committee. And then that committee would have a bunch of work to do this first year, establishing a 5-year timeline for the project. So you're a little bit ahead of the game, Tom. Just
No,
by like a month.
well, it's going to be budget time, getting annual reports done and all that stuff, and dealing with the onset of winter would be a problem. So wanted to know where this was going.
Well, it's in the bylaws and it's established.
Okay.
I think the board, you know what, maybe we'll put, Karen, if you can make a note on the 2nd October meeting, we'll ask for appointments. There's a couple of at-large seats, one for the selectmen and one for the
Right.
finance committee to put together.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Ferry. I have a question. The Municipal Building Study Committee does have a quorum now. And I guess my general question is, Was it the intention, I'm sorry, I'm letting in Mrs. Hathaway into the meeting. I don't know if she'll have input. Is it the intention of the committee to wait until you have 7 members, or will you start the work now? Now meaning, you know, whenever the meeting is.
I always, well, I guess I haven't thought about it. I don't have an opinion.
Well, I know it's like tough right now because we have the town meeting coming up.
Yeah, I think,
I just didn't know if it was the intention of everyone that we were gonna wait until all 7 seats were filled, or if like the ADA commission, I don't think has all the seats filled, for example, but they are rocking and rolling already. And then whoever would join the commission, I would assume would have to be apprised of what's going on, which balls are currently being juggled in the air. And I think it might be a similar situation for the Municipal Building Study Committee. But so I was just curious. That was just my general question. I didn't mean to put anyone on the spot. I was just curious what the logic was there. If we're gonna wait or if we want to, you know, at least start. I have no opinion. I'm not even on it. So I was just asking.
well, I just made a note. I'll put some times together, see what works, and we'll get started.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you can do is like organize anyway, right now.
Right.
Anyway, so. Does anyone else have any public input or anything that they wanted to add before we adjourn today? Mrs. Hathaway, I know you joined. Mrs. Goulart, did you have something?
Yeah, just a quick update. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll call them new solar farm projects. We have the Blue Wave, which is Tremont Street and Middle Street. We have one proposed for the Brook Street area. I don't have a name for that one yet. And we also have, I'll call it the Arujo Farm, solar farm that's coming up. I'm just making people aware of this, that Blue Wave will be meeting with the Stormwater Committee at the next regular meeting. And I assume that's a public hearing. Those are going to be continued because there's just so much material to go through. So I just want people to know we have some solar farm projects coming. They've gone past other boards. They'll be coming to the Stormwater Committee, but just an informational thing. Mr. Gray, November 1st is Sunday, so I think that meeting's November the 2nd, Monday night. That date is sticking in my mind for
Yes.
the CBA. Okay. And the only other thing I want to mention, something to think about this year, Veterans Day falls on Wednesday. We're not having the breakfast because of COVID. My first year, my first fall on the board, we had a brief ceremony over at the Veterans Park. And I remember Richard Hegman was chairman of the board at that time. And it was just a brief public commemoration to recognize Veterans Day. And I'm just wondering if we should think about doing that. I haven't spoken to Don Hershey, and I don't think Don's on the line with us right now. But it just seems we should do something. And as I say, it doesn't have to be a big thing. I don't think the ceremony we had back then lasted a whole hour. But the fact of the matter was, it was a public commemoration at the Veterans Park. So maybe we could just come up with a brief ceremony just so that, you know, the veterans are remembered.
I think that's a fabulous idea.
I agree.
I love the breakfast. I'm sad that we won't be able to.
Well, and I know that I spoke with Mr. Hershey about it, and I said, you know, if you still feel strongly about putting it together, let's sit down with Todd Pilling and figure out a way. But I think this is a nice way to do it and a safer way to do it. So I like that, Selectman Goulart. I think that's,
you know, and if by any chance the weather is bad, we can hold something in the pavilion, because I'm not expecting crowds, but at least the word will be out that publicly the town of Dayton recognized Veterans Day.
right.
Mr. Chairman.
I was
Any
just
question?
thinking of, I have a really bad idea for how we could do it. It's a little bit like Selectman Goulart's, but I don't want to say the idea here. It's a little bit of a
Okay.
drive-through. So Madam Administrator, Selectman Goulart, I'll run it by you offline.
Okay.
Mr. Rhines, yes. You don't have
Yes,
to ask.
Mr.
you just
Chairman, I have a
talk.
question. Are there any rules and regulations and parameters in what qualifies for a capital outlay project in order to go to the capital outlay committee requesting funds?
It is well, there's a whole bylaw that discusses the process, but it's I don't think there's a budget amount. It might be $5,000, but I could be making that up, but any capital expense.
Yeah.
So
I
a
would think-
vehicle,
Mhm.
a building project, anything that wouldn't normally come out of operating. Your playground's one of them,
Thank
something
you.
like that.
That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Does anyone have anything else?
I
Selectman
just
Pacheco?
oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
No.
I just wanted to ask you, Selectman Pacheco.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Dog.
Madam Administrator, no, it's okay.
I just wanted, for those that did not get the opportunity, because I know we're running out of time, if you have a particular struggle or something that you're trying to work out in your department, please email me because I'd like to assist. And if for those that kind of joined later, the request today was to provide a positive in your department and something that you might be working on, having a particularly tough time. If you were not able to provide that today, I'd love to still hear it. So phone call, email, whatever works for you. And we can try to tackle those problems. That's all. Oh, and my big cheese. I haven't given out a big cheese in
Sure.
forever.
Drum
my big
roll,
cheese-
please.
Sorry, yeah. The big cheese is Tom Ferry and basically the entire highway department. Tom Ferry has been operating with one less person. We also have Mike Barabee off-road doing a lot of construction projects. They had a storm. They installed or assisted in installing, and Tom Ferry manages projects, 2 of our complete streets sidewalk projects this summer. Then we got the shared streets grant. We had to quickly pivot because it was thrown at us in last minute, so he wasn't able to really plan. He dropped everything. We actually applied for a second grant. He again dropped everything to get estimates and worked very closely with me. We also have, we had the ADA grant, which we put forward some curb ramps and stuff. Tom dropped everything and went to each different location, which is all throughout town. That's a town-wide infrastructure project, and really gave me the estimates and followed through. And this is all while handling regular work, the storm that Selectman DeGraffis discussed earlier, operating with fewer personnel than he normally has for very many months. So, and it's also in anticipation of all the Briggs Street work that's going to come up as well. So Tom, great work as always. You manage everything, and I don't think you sleep, to be honest. I don't know how you do it. So the trophy's here in our office if you want to come pick it up. He hates it.
You're muted. You're muted.
Is Tom still here?
He is.
He's just
Yeah.
on mute.
Yeah, I'm just part of the team. All that stuff didn't happen by me. Absolutely not.
Hey, Tom, one caveat, now that the sidewalk's done on Somerset Avenue, stop telling the lady at 1950 Somerset Avenue she's got to shovel the sidewalk.
I told her at our meeting. I told everybody.
They actually,
Your
they
sidewalk,
actually-
your problem.
they actually held off and kind of avoided Tom and I. We actually went to the house both times. They were kind of avoiding us. They didn't want to agree to the appraisal or accept the money because they thought they had to shovel the sidewalk. And then Tom told them they did.
No, just
Well,
her. Right.
He
the
doesn't.
husband-
He's not an elected official. He doesn't have to pander, Selectman Goulart. He just gets to tell him the truth. It's true. Does anybody have anything else? I did just want to add, sort of as a joke, whenever I reach out to Mr. Ferry and I thank him or his department for something, I always have to caveat it and say, I know you're going to say that it's just your job, or you're going to say that it's the team. So I always know that that's coming. But we do appreciate everything, Mr. Ferry. Very much, sir. If nobody has anything else, I will entertain motions to adjourn.
So moved.
I so move. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you so much for a productive discussion today. Hi, Mrs. Tavares. I see you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.